Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint, superior durability.
It's the beginning of another week. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from the news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and also on 3 News on Facebook and on YouTube as well. We're live on 3FM 92.7 DSTV channel 279. I am Alfred Ocansey. As always, many ways you can connect with us. Coming up tonight here on Ghana Tonight, Global Info Analytics comes in with the latest, the measures, the chances of the flag bearer aspirants of the 2 leading political parties doing a head-to-head analysis based on the latest poll that they have put out earlier today. We'll take you through who the report indicates has the highest chance if elections were held today. Well, it's early days yet, especially for the NDC, but for the NPP, they are counting their days. Also, senior high school admission prospectus by some schools are raising numerous concerns after what appears to be an overload of what first-year students are required to acquire going into school. Stay with us. We've got some of the prospectus shared with us by some parents and concerns being raised there. What is the Ghana Education Service, Ministry of Education, going to do about this? Stay with us. Also, startling revelations of the Public Accounts Committee sitting have exposed questionable salary payments, judgment debts, and procurement breaches at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, among other institutions. We'll delve into some of these revelations. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. And also, there's an association that's raising concerns about the recently launched new guidelines for the parent-teacher associations, as the PTAs for senior high schools. We'll have the committee chair of that particular committee that was put together by the Ministry of Education to draft these new guidelines for the PTA. Join us here on Ghana Tonight. You're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Effective October 1, 2025, DSTV subscribers will be getting more value for the amounts they pay for their packages. That is according to the Minister for Communications, Sam Nati George. At a press briefing earlier today, he announced a new pricing plan exclusive to Ghana.
For those who are on the Paddy Bouquet subscription, you currently pay 59 Ghana cedis. When you pay 59 Ghana cedis, you get upgraded automatically to Access, which is valued at 99 Ghana cedis, and you get 35 more channels. Second bouquet, Access, currently going at 99 Ghana cedi. If you retain your Access bouquet at 99 Ghana cedi, MultiChoice will bump you up to the family bouquet, which is currently priced at 190 Ghana cedis.
The Ghana Education Service has removed the assistant headmaster in charge of academics of the KNUST Senior High School in Kumasi from office following the viral video on social media allegedly showing him in a compromising position with a female student. A statement signed by the head of public relations of the GES, Daniel Fenyi, said the assistant headmaster, Charles Edu, has also been barred from visiting the school while investigations continue. The Ghana Education Service further noted that it is committed to protecting the welfare of students and maintaining discipline within the teaching profession. The statement added that due process will be followed and any disciplinary action will be taken in accordance with the service's code of conduct. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority DVLA says no excavator will be registered and released without ministerial approval. Speaking during the visits of the Deputy Minister of Transport, the DVLA CEO noted that this move is part of efforts to curb illegal mining, known as galamsey, and improve vehicle tracking.
The Minister of Transport will have to give us people who have seek permits from him before we go ahead with the registration. As far as the Minister gives us the permit, we will register your excavator. Then the Lands Commission does the tracking. Until that, we cannot register any excavator. And per our DVLA terms, we consider them as seized.
The Vice President has visited the abandoned Mamponting and Krofrom markets, as well as the Swami Post Office market razed down by fire in August this year. The Mamponting market, supposed to have 3-story administration block, 2-story lockable shops, clinic, daycare center, supermarket, warehouses, among others, had been left to the vagaries of the weather for 12 years now.
Say district assembly common fund, say special fund, say dia won here say nante na bebia emwa wo bia ya kwhwehwe ba na ehwe say anke beba ha bio na edwano ya kosoro ya besia ba bio na anke yewie na anke nya na.
The Bank of Ghana is championing non-interest banking as a crucial strategy to generate the necessary fiscal space for the country's economic expansion. The central bank's governor, in a speech read on his behalf at the Islamic Finance International Conference in Accra, indicated that the search for affordable capital is paramount given Ghana's current fiscal constraints.
Ghana's economy, like many across Africa, stands at a critical juncture. On one hand, we face fiscal constraints, high public debt levels, and limited access to affordable capital for businesses, an expanding private sector, and a growing demand for financial solutions that are both inclusive and ethical.
It's more news on 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on YouTube as well. We're streaming on 3 News on YouTube. And this is Ghana Tonight. As always, probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray, and Qualcomm Tum Tum Preko. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, the latest poll by Global Info Analytics says former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has taken a commanding lead in the new Patriotic Party's presidential primary, securing some 47% of the delegate support. The emphasis this time around is on the delegates. That's the difference. The results published on the organization's official social media platform, that's Global Info Analytics, earlier today, positioned as Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the clear front runner going into this very crucial presidential, that's the flag bearer race that is ongoing. For the elections, all things being equal, is expected to be on the 31st of January next year. So for the MPP, it's not early days yet. They have just about 4 months to take that decision of who leads the party going into election 2028. So it's a strategic decision they took to deal with their issues early, so that you'll have enough time to mend and also close their ranks ahead of election 2028. So they decided January 31. So Musa Dankwa went on this poll specifically with delegates being captured as the sample size for this latest Global Info Analytics outcome. This was amongst these specific delegates and voter population. Now, what you see, juxtapose that to what was the outcome of the poll in July. Okay, these are the changes. And I want you to take note of this quite closely. Dr. Mahmoud Obamia in July, based on the Global Info Analytics own poll, in July when they went to ask the views of people on who they prefer. This was in July. The voters' preference for NPP leadership in 2028, 56%. Now fast forward to September, the outcome of the poll shows this, 57.4%, an increase of a little over 1%. Kennedy Japan as well, in terms of percentage increase, saw an appreciable rise by over 6 percentage points increase for him between July and September. But then that is not as a result of the loss of Dr. Mahmoud Obamia's vote. So where did Kennedy Japan's increase come from? And that's where you see the likes of Dr. Yawase Duchum, the former education minister, losing, according to Global Info Analytics, their latest poll, some 3 percentage points. And you see the direct gain from there going into Kennedy Japan. And then also Brian Champon increasing appreciably by some 5%. That's 3% to 5% between July and September. And Kwabena J. Japan, the former general secretary of the party, one-time presidential hopeful as well, ahead of the 2024 elections. He's not giving up. He's not new to this. He as well showing up in that regard with the same increase of 2 percentage points in his favor. So these are the front runners that Musa Dankwa polled for the NPP. Before we get into what the situation is with the NDC, let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Jonathan Asantiochi. He is a political analyst and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Dr. Asantiochi, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Hello, Doc, can you hear us? Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred.
Great. Now, and thank you as well. Now, first off, I want to find out from you with the picture that has been painted by Musa Dankwa for the New Patriotic Party. Yes, they have 4 months, so we cannot say for them that it's early days yet. And what the reflection is right now. Do you see anything changing, and especially the inroads that Kennedy Japan's team has responded to this, that they don't necessarily see any reflection of this on the delegates, and so they are working on the ground. And so this may not be a reflection of the reality for them. Where does the pendulum slide for you?
Well, it's very difficult. I don't see the pendulum sliding to, as it were, favor, the camp of Mr. Kennedy Japan. But I can understand where they are coming from because they are really working hard. I met a friend who knows the ins and the outs of the NPP, and that was about 2 weeks ago. And he instructively said that Mr. Kennedy Japan was going to win the delegate, conference or the elections for that matter. And I was taken aback because I needed to know a little more as to the basis, upon which he was making such a wild claim. As it stands now, if you look at the architecture or the organogram of the NPP and those who qualify as delegates, if you do not have the establishment on your side, it's definitely going to be difficult. I can appreciate where Mr. Kennedy Japan's support base is, and that is the grassroots. There are people who still believe that, look, Dr. Bawumia doesn't have what it takes to become the president of this republic. And that apart, they also believe that his umbilical cord is not tied to the MPP. There are many people who have such questions lingering on their minds. But, if you look at Dr. Bawumia, where he's also coming from, 8 years in opposition from 2008 until 2016 that they won the elections, then 8 years in government. So if you look at, in terms of experience, he's by far ahead of all his compeers. But it is in itself also a challenge for him because he was among those who presided over an abysmal record in terms of the economy. And so that albatross is still around his neck. And that's the more reason why I said that the main problem of the NDC, when the 2024 elections came to a closure, was Dr. Bawumia. If you remember, I said that in the studios of TV3, because they are now at a crossroads. Do we brush him aside and go for a new candidate? Or we continue with him and find a way of polishing him and, as it were, presenting him to the Ghanaian, the entire populace, so that they will try and see whether you'll be able to.
So if I get the understanding from you, you're looking at the popularity of the candidate and the viability of the candidate, because it goes without saying, and it cannot be contested, that yes, amongst all of them, in terms of who has been in the thick of things for the NPP in terms of the flag bearership and representing the party's face in terms of the leadership going into an election, he would be the most popular because of the number of times he has been on the ticket of the NPP as a vice presidential candidate or a running mate, and then eventually becoming a flag bearer. But you juxtapose that with the viability of the candidature as well. There are those who think differently. That's what Kennedy Apon's team is looking at. And you've heard Brian Champon as well reference a lot of times the record and what happened in Zongos and so on, which Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has disputed consistently. But is it really going to change? I mean, can anything work for him as against all the others?
Well, I think that it will be very difficult for him to be sidestepped. Although his records are quite abysmal, I'm quite sure and certain that the delegates have in mind, the delegates themselves, they appear troubled because the other contenders are good, but they are looking at not only within the party, they are looking outside the party as well. Which of the candidates will be more appealing and attractive, will gain more traction, when it comes to the non-delegates, that is the entire, populace.
Well, the NDC would also have their own issues to deal with, isn't it? I mean, if you look at what Musa Dankwa put out there today, now we see Haruna Idrisu inching up just a bit further with an additional 3 percentage points to his favor between July and September. It's as if elections were held today. This is going to be the outcome of those who prefer him as the leader for the NDC as in going into the elections as flag bearer. You look at how things look. In fact, Musa Dankwa added a few individuals to the NDC's pack of possible flag bearer hopefuls. You have now the former TOR MD, Bost MD Kwame Wadakon, Dr. Kospio Gabriel there, and Alfred Ocansey, Professor Joshua Alabi, those who say the last 5 names, well, they don't want to put premium on it, but he had reason why he added them to it. You never know. Then you have Eric Opoku coming in, the current agric minister, added on to the others who have always been in the poll. I mean, look at the names that have come up now. Adding Eric Opoku, Professor Joshua Alabi, I mean, do you see any mettle in them to prove in this race?
Well, I think that everybody out there that has been projected is quite qualified. They all have their capacities and their deficiencies as well. But you know something, I may want to disappoint you because I am of the view that this is more of speculation than reality. That apart, we all know that none of these individuals, have expressed their willingness and readiness to contest as presidential candidates. It is the early days of President Mahama, and I see this more as a distraction because if they are not careful, what will happen is that those names that have been bandied about will want to outdo and outwit each other, and that could easily affect the integrity and the unity of the party that is in government. But let me also ask, for example, that what is the basis of taking away the name of the vice president? Is it the case that she fell ill and has recuperated, or Musa Dankwa thinks that, age is not on her side, for which reason her name has been taken away? What if, she decides also to contest in the near future? What will be the architecture of the responses that will come up? Don't forget that the first poll that he brought that had the vice president name, she was ahead of every other person that, he brought in terms of the names. Apart from that, the poll that he released before the Akutia or post Akutia, we saw that Greek minister outperforming that of Julius Debra. What has happened suddenly that, you find a situation where he's now gone to the Sith? Probably there are a lot more questions that we may have to ask in terms of the methodology and how he got, some of the responses and the percentages that is allotted. I think this is the very first time that I'm tempted to disagree because I think that it is more speculative than reality. Look, the NDC appears more as a national party. It has nationalistic color because you could see that there's not been a situation where one particular tribe will dominate. So you see, for example, it started with Mr. Rawlings, the late, His Excellency, Mr. Rawlings, 11 years as a military, 8 years as a constitutional leader, making it 19. So you will see that it's taken a little while for a Votarian to also come up. Now, the second comes Professor Mills, the late Professor Mills, from Central. Usually we will say Western Central, but from Central region. So he also leads the party for a while. Unfortunately, he dies as he was in power. Then Mr. Mahama, His Excellency, the current president, comes in. So he is going to lead the party, from 2012 up till 2028. I'm asking whether it would be appropriate for the NDC to have a northerner succeed another northerner. Is it possible? If it is possible, will that augur well for the unity of the party? Because I'm of the view that democracy, the essence of democracy is optimal distribution of wealth and resources. Now, when wealth, concentrates in one section in a democracy, it brings other things altogether. Confusion, brouhaha, unnecessary antagonism here and there. And if you're not careful, they can easily be an implosion. Right. So for me, Central region, if the vice president decides to contest, I don't know. So I'm
that's why I wanted to state this thing on for
argument.
You. Yes, that's why I wanted to, because you had indicated that, and I want you to listen to me on the Zoom. You had indicated that you question why Musa Dankwa didn't even add Professor Nana Jino Pokuajiman to this, because she hasn't indicated anywhere that whether or not she is going to contest. And also, all these individuals have not indicated openly that they are going to contest the flag bearership. So if he is putting together possible names, why not add the vice president, Professor Nana Jino Pokuajiman? That's the strong position that you pose it, isn't it?
Certainly.
Let's see.
Certainly. Because, she's not said everybody is concentrating on giving of their best with respect to the positions that they are occupying now. and wanting to ensure that the president succeeds. That is everybody's business. But if you are speculative, like mentioning and bandying about certain names, then nothing stops you from adding the
Sorry, unfortunately, we lost.
vice president.
Yes, right on. And I thank you very much there, Dr. Jonathan Asantiochiri. We're trying to get through to Musa Dankwa, but unfortunately, we're hitting the brick wall in that, and it's one that we're going to continue to knock on the doors of Global Info Analytics to answer that question of why the exclusion of Professor Nana Jino in these possible names, if we're just putting together the names of people who have not openly come out to even declare their intentions of whether or not they're going to contest the flag bearership of the NDC. So it's a very important observation as well, and the question that we would seek some answers to here on Ghana Tonight. So stay with us. If not today, as we're still continuing to knock on the doors of Musa Dankwa, and hopefully in the coming days as well, we'll get some answers to this particular issue that has been raised. But this is Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. There's a statement coming from the NDC Factional Executive Committee we'll put out shortly. But coming up next, the new PTA guidelines have sparked some confusion. But before that, the senior high schools admission prospectus has raised some questions, especially amongst concerned parents. We have had a number of the parents sending us the prospectus, copies of these prospectus that they were given by some senior high schools that the awards have been admitted to. And a number of you have been sharing your concerns with us via social media, which in fact was the basis for this all-important conversation. Let's put it on record that the Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Clement Tapak, is watching us right now and has indicated that because of the location and all, we're not able to get through to him directly, but is monitoring these concerns that parents have brought to our notice, and we're going to forward all these concerns that you parents have given to us to his office to attend to them speedily. Now, a number of these concerns we got from parents. This specific one is from the Evangelical Presby Senior High School in Hohoi, and a parent shared this with us, and we're going to put that on the screen. This is the prospectus, which the parent described as overloaded. One, active National Health Insurance card. Students will be returned immediately without it, and no admission offered. Sharpened cutlass. We also have whole broom, standing broom or short broom, brush, sweeping brush, long, scrubbing brush, long, hand scrubbing brush, short, mop and mop bucket, a pair of black shoes for boys, a pair of black shoes for girls. Students must wear these shoes at all times for classes. 2 pairs of white canvas for boys. Replace immediately, it gets spoiled. 2 pairs of brown sandals for girls, black leather sandals, black or brown leather sandals, 1 black belt, a pair of boots, black and ankle length. You have a pair of black socks and a pair of white socks, a pair of brown socks, 3 set check short sleeves, white frock with sleeveless full white for girls, 1 long white sleeve shirt for boys, 1 white short sleeve shirt for boys, white t-shirt and white short for boys, a pair of canvas for sports, 2 PE dresses, school cloth, 3 yards, 2 set check, sewed, white shirt, sewed, khaki trousers already in the school, school badge, 1 school tie, school belt, passport size pictures, 6 of them, they say, to be submitted to the school, mattresses for boarders, Bible, exercise books, notebooks, scientific calculator, school bag, black suit or cardigan, 1 rim of A4 sheets. And in fact, we had to cut the list short because it was quite a lot we found in there. Dr. Peter Patianti is the executive director of one of the foremost education CSOs we have in this country. That's the Institute of Education Studies. Dr. Anti, thank you for joining us. I want to find out from you, you have seen what has been approved by the GES and then also monitored the concerns that some parents have had. Is this really one that the school has gone overboard, or it is within the boundaries of what the school is supposed to be demanding, first of all?
Thank you very much, Alfred, and good evening to your viewers. Well, I think that this list is very overboard if you compare it to the centralized prospectus that have been given to various schools to share with parents. And I think that, of course, we will not have the schools having the same items across the country. But as you normally say, you have plus or minus 2, or maybe plus or minus 5. So there could be about 2 to 5 items added on, or 2 to 5 items removed from the list from the Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service. But if you look at this list, which is going viral, and other lists that are in the system from different schools, you are tempted to believe that it seems the authorities of these schools are not ready to align themselves with the directive from the GES, and they are asking the parents to bring things that are way out of place, and I think it's a little bit worrying.
Worrying and concerning. What should the GES be doing? I mean, at this time, because the parents are on social media, they've reached out to us, but then there was a prescribed or approved prospectus. And now you have some of the schools now doing their own thing. So who should be answering questions right now?
Well, I think that one of the things that the GES needed to have done was to have a task force in place as they announced the prospectus. You know, as humans as we are bound to have people going astray. And therefore, when you put out such a list and you want everybody to fall in line, you need a task force to help with the implementation of it. And then they should have also had a hotline where parents can quickly link up with the GES to complain when they feel that they are being overly burdened by prospectus from the school. So these two would have immediately prevented the school authorities from even going ahead to have some of these things coming out, because they knew that the GES is monitoring them, and if they don't take care, these things will get to the authorities, and they might be held responsible. So that would have been a preventive measure for us. But now that this is not, I think that they still need to quickly step in, call the headmasters of these institutions to order. I wouldn't say they should interdict them at this stage, but I think that they should be giving some warning, and then reassure parents that the centralized prospectus is still in place. There could be some variation a little from different schools depending on the needs of the schools, but it wouldn't be so much way overboard as we are seeing now. So assurance from the GES, calling the headmasters or the schools that are fall to order, and now ensuring that if anybody goes against the order after the warning and then the assurance from GES, then proper sanctions should be brought to bear on these individuals.
But to the extent that every year this situation comes up, right? This is not the first time we're hearing this. Every year we hear stories of schools putting up some items on their prospectus that is not approved or prescribed by the GES. So then what is the weakness there that the schools are exploiting, and what can be done to address this so that next year we don't come back talking about this perennial situation again? I
think it's because the variation in terms of prospectus that even led to the GS coming out with the centralized prospectus, because we felt that the various schools were exploiting them. So I believe that we need to ensure compliance. I think that is the biggest thing that we need to do. Parents can agitate, right? But you see, you are taking your ward to school and your ward is asked to bring other things. Some parents would. Now, at the end of the day, it's your ward that is left with the school authorities. So it boils down to GES ensuring compliance and making sure that those who go outside the requisite instructions are dealt with. I think that is the strongest point that we have to drum home, because you whatever you do, you get people exploiting the system. You get people trying to cash in by trying to get money from parents, innocent parents, and so on and so forth. And this has been going on for some time now. So you need to put in measures to ensure compliance. And this means that your district offices should be working seriously. Your free SHS secretariat at the various district levels should be doing random checks across schools. They are there, and then the authorities will just go to the school, ask of the school prospectus, and then find out what they are asking the children to bring and compare it to what the centralized prospectus is. Ask them why they are adding these things. So those random checks, those task force, let me put it that way, that would ensure compliance is what we need to do. That is what we are not doing. We think that by putting the prospectus out there and then making it public, parents will now be aware that this is what they need to take to the schools, and therefore we are good to go. No, the schools would definitely, some of the schools would definitely not fall in line, and therefore random checks, a task force to ensure compliance and all that is what we are not adding on to the general announcement that we are making. I think that if we start doing these random checks and then ensuring compliance and then making sure that parents are very much aware that this is what they are supposed to provide, I think with time we'll be able to get this thing right.
And that's an important point there. And before I let you go, Dr. Peter Anti, a number of viewers who have been sharing this real time with us, their experiences and the concerns as well on this matter. This one, Abba Mankoy, says she actually lists the items: long and short broom, local, toilet rolls, car duster. I don't know what car duster we're doing there for anybody, but that's what she has there. There's foam, there's Dettol, Isaiah, bin bag, powdered soap, A4 sheet. It appears the A4 sheets runs through all of it. Are the children supposed to be providing A4 sheets, or is that an odd item there for you, Dr. Anti?
No, it's something that we've noticed for some time now. I think it's basically for printing. You see, the truth is that sometimes the schools are also left in a difficult situation in their attempt to provide quality education for our wards. But I don't think that they have to bring down on the parents, because most of these things, the A4 sheets are basically used for printing, and I know that most students are asked to bring an A4 sheet. This is supposed to be provided by the government, but they don't come in time. Some don't come at all, and therefore for the school to be able to keep running, they ask students to bring some of these things. So as we warn parents, as we are warning the school authorities that they should fall in line, we should also remind the Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service that they owe it a duty to ensure that the schools have the requisite resources to be able to run the schools. If that is not done, then you are putting the school authorities in a difficult situation, and that ends up giving them the platform to start putting some of these things in the prospectus. So we should try and then do away with these things. Get the resources to the schools. Don't wait till last minute, because we know that the students are getting back to school on 18th, the first years. By this time, every administrative resource that is needed, I think that GES should be taking note of them. Ask headmasters to list the things that you need, administrative resources that you need, and then you provide it before the students get to school on the 18th of October. If these things are done consistently, then you have the moral authority and the power to ensure compliance. Because as I'm saying, you should ensure compliance. You should also, the GES should also note that when the resources are not there, the schools cannot run. So make sure you have given them everything that they need, so that when they are going overboard, you can come in and then ensure that the students are, the authorities are doing the right thing. So it's 50-50, as we will say. The resources sometimes in some of the schools are not there, and therefore heads and other people would want to take initiative to ensure that those resources that are needed to run the school daily are being supplied, are being provided by the parents, which I think is not right. But GES, Ministry of Education, should step in, provide these administrative resources, and make sure that they get to the schools. Then they can now ensure compliance and ask school authorities to stick to the centralized prospectus. And even if there will be variation, it will be too much from the original items that have been sent to the schools.
Dr. Anti, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. And a number of you still sharing your experiences with that dossier. Chineboa says prospectus, almost 4,000 CDs excluding provisions. So the items on the prospectus, she says, is costing her almost 4,000 CDs to buy. Says, my concern is with the final year tertiary students. This for Nanama Santoa, their fees too much. Something must be done about it, especially College of Health in Tampo. You say harmonized prospectus, and that's what Dr. Anti has been talking about for quite a while now. Number of you. This one, Hajia Fatima, says most of the schools added a lot of things. Some instead of 1 kg detergent, they're asking of 2 kg for the school before you buy another one for the child's personal use. When I saw my child's prospectus, we shall overcome this one too. Rightly so. That's what you see from Hajia Fatima Yakubu as well on Facebook, who is also worried about this and watching us right now, sharing all your concerns with us in real time. This is Ghana Tonight, as I indicated. You have a say in what we say here, but let's still stay on the matters of education. All these concerns that have come to us on this prospectus matter, we're putting all together. Deputy Education Minister Dr. Clement Tapak will receive this on your behalf. But coming up next, the new PTA guidelines, still with education, new PTA guidelines that were submitted to the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has sparked some confusion amongst parents and children. Now, we want to have some clear understanding with this particular concern. Kofi Asari is the Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, but for this conversation, he was the chairman of the committee that was put together by the Education Ministry for this whole review of the guidelines for the PTAs, because this administration has brought the PTAs back. Asari, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Hi, Alfred. Good evening, and good evening to your cherished audience.
So the PTAs were taken out. It's been brought back. A committee set up. You chaired that committee to put together these new guidelines for the PTAs, Parent Teachers Association, for the senior high schools especially. Now, there's a National Council for Parent Teachers Association, this group. Are you aware of them? Because they have issued a statement indicating that you did not consult them, you, the committee. Why is that?
Okay, Alfred, I don't work with the GES. I work with Africa Education Watch, an organization that provides technical assistance to various ministries of education across the sub-region, including Ghana. So within the context of providing technical assistance to the Ministry of Education, we supported in the development of the guidelines. I chaired the committee comprising stakeholders within the basic and secondary education sector, including the Conference of Heads of Secondary Schools, Conference of Heads of Basic Schools, regional directors, district directors, former PTA members, etc., etc. The committee wasn't a consultative committee. It was a technical committee Okay, the technical committee to draft the guidelines. So consultation is a mandate of GES. Our mandate was to draft guidelines for consideration by the Ministry of Education and GES. And that's exactly what we did. And so it wasn't a consultative committee.
I see. But then again, was there any room for the engagement that they talk about? I mean, I'm talking about this group, the National Council of PTAs.
Well, in our work, on my side, I engaged a couple of CSOs who are involved in the PTA business. And so I had some rich input from them, especially those working at the community level. The guidelines we're developing wasn't guidelines for PTAs. It was solid guidelines for school-based PTAs. The GES recognizes only school-based PTAs. And so the PTA, for instance, of Medina Estate Basic School, GES recognizes that PTA as Medina Estate Basic School PTA. That is the PTA that the guideline was developed for. Okay, so there may be many other PTAs at the regional level, at the national level, at the state level, but the GES recognizes only school-based PTAs, and it defines PTAs as exclusively school-based, for which the members of that PTA should be parents and guardians of the children or learners in that particular school and the teachers. Beyond that, no one else is a member of the particular PTA. And so we're going by the GES's definition of PTAs. PTAs are exclusively school-based, and members should have their children in that particular school. These are the PTAs that the guideline was developed for.
I see. But so it's for the GES to deal with this matter, the concerns that the National Council of PTAs are raising, but could any input at all have been made by this group to, as it were, have their concerns factored or captured in the recommendations that you have made in these new guidelines that you submitted to the minister?
Yes, I think every civil society organization has a right to participation in policy. Okay, the National Council of PTAs, if I'm getting the name right, is an NGO. It's an NGO like Africa Education Watch. And so every NGO or civil society organization has the right to participation in policy. And so, yes, they have the rights, okay? But it is subject to the framework, within which the GH was operating at that particular moment. It is not within my remit, as I indicated. It wasn't within the committee's remit to consult. We're supposed to draft guidelines. And so if there's any consultation to be done, it wasn't part of the committee's mandate. Other than that, we would have been going around consulting the way we did for the National Education Forum. This was a technical drafting committee, which comprised, expansive stakeholders from the community level all the way to the regional national level, who have worked with PTAs. Myself, I've been a PTA practitioner for about 20 years. I've traveled across the country, formed PTAs, worked with PTAs in the most remote part of this country since 2001. And I've been working with PTAs since. And so I had the opportunity of working with regional directors, district directors, heads of basic schools who have been PTA members and secretaries for a long time, former PTA members. Note that at the time that the guidelines were being developed, we had PAs. Note that the policy that existed before these guidelines were developed or were submitted to the Ministry of Education was a PA policy, which meant that we didn't have PTAs. The guideline that existed until this guideline was developed was called Guidelines for Parents Association, not PTA. So this guideline actually sought to operationalize PTAs. Okay, so Alfred, it is not that there were PTAs and then we didn't consult them.
Right.
There were PAs.
Okay.
PTAs have now been reintroduced.
Okay.
By the guideline.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on this one, and I'm sure we'll see how the coming days will look like on the clarity that you bring to it as well. Kofi Asare, Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, the chair of the committee that was a technical committee, as a matter of fact, that was put together for the drafting of this new PTA guidelines. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. There's a statement from the Office of the President on Galamsey. And then also, we have a statement from the NDC Functional Executive Committee. You want to know all of that? Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We've just received a statement from the Office of the President, signed by Dr. Callistus Mahama, the Secretary to the President. We're going to put that on the screen right now, and it's about illegal mining, Galamsey. There's some engagement with civil society organizations about the illegal mining menace and the fight against Galamsey. And this is it. We'll put the details right now on the screen, and it did indicate on the instructions of His Excellency the President, I am pleased to invite you to participate in a civil society. It's essentially an invitation to civil society organizations to have an engagement with the President on Galamsey. Date, Friday, October 3rd, 2025, 12 noon at the Jubilee House. The engagement aims to provide a platform for frank and constructive dialogue between government and civil society on the menace of illegal mining, with a view of harnessing collective expertise, perspectives, and solutions to address the national challenge. So that is what Dr. Callistus Mahama, Secretary to the President, in fact, we just got a copy of it fresh on the plate here on Ghana Tonight, and these are but a few of the civil society organizations that have been invited to this. The Catholic Bishops' Conference, they've been frontal in the demand for a declaration of state of emergency in the last couple of weeks. Christian Council of Ghana have not been silent on this. The Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, Office of the Chief Imam. You have Ghana Muslim Mission, Arocha Ghana, Darobosu has been consistent on this platform. Imani Ghana, you've had Kofi Bentel as well, consistently on Key Point, Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC, Center for Democratic Development, CDD, quite a number of them. It's a tall list, actually, as you see there. In there, and many of them, you have eco-conscious citizens, that's Awola Sewa and her team. You've had them on this platform. UTAG, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Fix the Country Movement. You saw Oliver Bakavomawa as well. So they're all in there as well. Quite a tall list. You can find the full complement of the list on 3news.com. And before we go, we just got a statement as well from the NDC. This is from the Functional Executive Committee of the NDC. That's an invitation that has been extended to a member of parliament, and we'll get the full details of it right now on the statement that we got from the NDC not too long ago. The invitation to appear before a Functional Executive Committee. This is to Honorable Nechema Bila Lamzi. They say the attention of the Functional Executive Committee has been drawn to a widely circulated video recording from the studios of G1 TV, in which you were heard questioning the rationale for any thank you tour by the leadership of the party in your constituency. So essentially, that is what has happened now, and this is supposed to be tomorrow. So we'll monitor what happens, and the outcome of this will let you know. The full complement of it you'll find on 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you so much for staying with us. I am Alfred Ocansey. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Also on Sunrise, 3FM 92.7. Join Johnny Hughes, Helena Piampofo, and the rest of the team as well. And I am Alfred Ocansey. Do have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint.